What's going on, everyone? The Brooklyn Nets really have their hands tied when it comes to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Are they going to trade them? Are they going to continue this disaster and this absolute mess? Are they going to continue to play hardball with these two? Kevin Durant is doing everything he can to force his way out of Brooklyn, and it's very likely he's going to continue. There's reports that he's not going to show up to training camp. If he doesn't show up to training camp, what's next? At what point do you, as the Brooklyn Nets, just say, okay, enough is enough. Like, we need to move on. We need to build a team that we're happy with, that we're satisfied with. I mean, even Joe Tsai, the owner, talked about how he'd rather have a 40-win team that he's proud of than a team that he currently has constructed. So if that's true, why don't you make that happen? Go do a Celtics deal or whatever the best deal on the table is and acquire those pieces, because at least they want to play for you. At least they're going to show up. At least they're going to be there. You don't have to run the risk of Kevin Durant pulling a Vince Carter and just sabotaging your season. Kyrie Irving, same thing. Kevin Durant doesn't buy in. Kevin Durant doesn't show up. What is Kyrie going to do? Is Kyrie going to, betray his friend and show up? Is he going to, sit out and kind of, stand in solidarity with Kevin Durant? And even Woj yesterday talked about how the Nets aren't really considering trading these two, that they're not getting the offers that they feel are great. But the problem is they have no leverage. They had a lot more leverage, a month and some change ago, but the longer they hold out, the less leverage they have, because teams know you have to trade these two at some point. Kyrie Irving is probably just going to walk and leave you next season, and then you get nothing. Kevin Durant, if he sits out and doesn't decide to play, or doesn't show up to training camp or something like that, and now you're trying to explore trades once again, you lost even more leverage. Drawing this out does nothing but hurt the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin Durant has more than enough money. Kevin Durant could retire today and he would be set for the rest of his life. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. These guys, if they want to prove their cause and prove their point, they've shown in the past they will do whatever it takes. And so at this point, cut your losses and move on. I understand that the market is limited for these two. Right now, when it comes to Kyrie Irving, it's the Lakers. That's it. Lakers are the only team that wants to trade for Kyrie Irving. And it's because of the mess and disaster that he has caused over there. When it comes to Kevin Durant, the Boston Celtics seem to be the number one team, number one destination. Boston is worried that Jaylen Brown isn't going to stick around because he's not going to sign an extension, because that's less money for him in his pockets. It's just the way that the extension rule works. Jaylen Brown will actually get more money by being a free agent. The concern is he wants to be a number one guy. Is he going to be happy in Boston? Is he going to try to go explore elsewhere and be the number one guy, maybe on another team, and now Boston loses him? Or say they get in a position where they have to trade him. Are you going to be able to get a guy of Kevin Durant's caliber? That's a real question. And if he was to go to Brooklyn, he would be the number one guy in Brooklyn immediately. So he gets to go to a team. He's going to buy in. He's going to be 100%. If you get Marcus Smart or Derek White or whatever other pieces along with it, that's a huge home run if you are the Brooklyn Nets. And there's talks either way. We see the conflicting reports constantly. I know people are like, well, Woj said this, yeah, and a week ago Woj said that these deals were going to get done. And later today, Woj might say, oh, the deals are back on the table. Like, nobody knows what is going on. That has been very clear and very apparent from day one. Nobody, Woj, Shams, none of them. They've been wrong several times throughout this whole process, because nobody knows what Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are thinking, because they are two of the most odd players in the league, and they're going to continue to be that. So trying to guess what is going to happen, what they're going to do, it's impossible. Now, could these two potentially come in, buy in for a year, Kyrie leaves, or maybe, it works out, they win a championship? Yes, that's possible, but what is the likelihood based on the situation that has happened? Seriously, like what are the odds that these two are going to come together, be happy and merry and show up and, give 100%? And not just that, but you also have a guy in Ben Simmons who didn't play last year, who has all kinds of just mental things going on where he's having struggles and trouble just getting on the basketball court. And you're going to have your two star players that are supposed to be the example and the setters for your chemistry and your team in general, and these two don't even want to show up and are causing all this madness. What example is this setting for your team? What example is this setting for Ben Simmons? All of a sudden, Ben Simmons doesn't want to play because he doesn't want to be in this toxic environment or anything. Like, Ben Simmons has no trade value right now. Then he wants out, and you're trading him for a bag. Like, at some point, if you're Brooklyn, you have to say, enough is enough. Trade Kyrie, get the first round picks, do whatever you have to do. Trade Westbrook, tell Kevin Durant, look, dude, it sucks. You know, like, hey, we have to take this guy on. He's the only one that's going to show up and play. You don't want to play, don't play. You know, if we'll try to trade you, we're working on it, whatever. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Now, obviously, they don't seem to really want Westbrook, so maybe work out a 3-team deal, right? If the Pacers deal is on the table, maybe you can kind of flip Kyrie for like a Miles Turner, something along those lines. At the end of the day, move off of Kyrie, because if he leaves, you get nothing. Nothing. You don't have any money to replace him. You have nothing. You literally get nothing. You get no assets, nothing. And then when it comes to Kevin Durant, it seems to be Philly and Boston. I just don't think Philly has the pieces to go and acquire Kevin Durant. They can't outbid Boston. Boston's got hands down the best package that they could receive. And if Boston's deal is still on the table, like, what better offer are you going to get than Jaylen Brown? Even if it's just Jaylen Brown and like 3 first-round picks, what is better than that? Especially currently. And all you're doing is just lowering the value. If Kevin Durant really doesn't show up to training camp, and let's say he shows up for the first game and then fakes an injury or something, which Kyrie Irving threatened the Cavaliers with, and the NBA today, these players can go and get their own doctors and have their own doctors give their own opinion, and they could easily say, I mean, Ben Simmons did it. And for those that are thinking like, oh, let Kevin Durant sit out and he won't get paid. Well, guess what Ben Simmons just did? Ben Simmons just sat out the entire year, and he was able to recoup most of the money that the Sixers didn't want to pay him. They were able to take him to court, and he ended up getting most of that money back. So guess what? He still got paid for sitting out, and Kevin Durant's going to do the exact same thing. If Kevin Durant says, I'm not going to play for you, look at the example Ben Simmons just set. Ben Simmons just got most of his money back. So tell you what, I'll sit out for the rest of the year. You get desperate to the point where you end up trading me for a bag of peanuts, and now you're screwed. Like, go ahead, play hardball, keep going. I have so much more I could do, because he can. And it's not like the Nets can tank. It's not like, okay, Kyrie, okay, Katie, sit out. Who cares? We'll just tank and we'll get a good draft pick and, we'll be in a good place. No, because Houston has all their picks. So the Nets can't even do that. The Nets can't even tank. The Nets have to continue to try to put the best team possible on the court at all times. Kevin Durant's going to get you the best package for that. Kyrie's not going to get you a package that's going to help upgrade the roster any significance. Now, if you could get like a Miles Turner, then that's a pretty good deal. Like if I'm the Nets, based on like where the Nets are currently as far as the team goes, it's probably more valuable to get Miles Turner than it is those 2 first-round picks. Because who knows where the Nets are going to be, who knows where the Lakers are going to be, all that stuff. If you're the Nets, you know right now that like, hey, we cannot tank. We need to put the best team on the court at all times. So forget the picks. We don't have any picks anyway. So what are we going to do with those picks 5 to 7 years from now? Let's go get, a guy that can help us now and the future. That's probably what I would do. And then Kevin Durant, go do the Boston trade. Go get Jaylen Brown. Celtics, I know some people believe the Celtics don't want Kevin Durant and the Celtics aren't going to trade Jaylen Brown. I don't know. I think they are, because they're afraid Jaylen Brown's going to leave. It's the same reason the Spurs traded Murray, because it was the same circumstance. DeJounte Murray would have foregone the extension because he makes more money as a free agent. And do you really think he was going to stick around with the San Antonio Spurs? No, he would have went to greener pastures. That's what the Celtics are worried about with Jaylen Brown. And now it's probably even more likely the case because Jaylen Brown has been in these trade talks. So Jaylen Brown's probably not very happy. Now, he is a professional. He's going to come in. He's going to show up. He's going to do his job. But as soon as he becomes available to go and explore potential other teams, I believe he's going to do that. And I think that's what the Celtics are worried about. So why wouldn't you just go upgrade that and get a Kevin Durant that you have for at least the next 4 years? And then you probably win a championship. Even if you don't, then okay, you still have Jason Tatum to kind of build around and kind of structure your team around. You still have, Robert Williams. You still have a lot of really good pieces that are still young enough for your future that you can add players and stuff after, the Kevin Durant experiment, whether it's successful or not. It's like, what other options do you have if you're the Nets? If you could get, Jaylen Brown and Derek White and a couple first-round picks, go do that. You could always flip Derek White and those picks for maybe something else. Be patient, wait and see what develops. In 6 months, there's probably going to be another disgruntled star or like borderline star or all-star or something, because it's just today's NBA. Every couple months, somebody wants out. And so why not just get assets, recoup as much as you can, and then maybe use those to go get that disgruntled player or to that disgruntled star. And then as far as Kyrie Irving goes, again, like the Nets would be in their best interest to try to get a player now, in my opinion, rather than the draft picks. So if the Celtics, if the Pacers deal is on the table still, I think the Brooklyn Nets should say, hey, you're going to give your 2 firsts for Kyrie Irving. Tell you what, keep the firsts and send them to the Indiana Pacers, because you don't want to do the 2 firsts to Indiana because you want Kyrie Irving. You don't think that Indiana deal is enough to make you a contender. Okay, well, we want Miles Turner. Go do that deal. Give up the 2 firsts or whatever you have to get to go get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, and then we'll take on Miles Turner. You get Kyrie Irving. And then the Lakers get a huge win because they get Buddy Hield and Kyrie Irving, so their shooting just goes up tremendously. For the Brooklyn Nets, you're in a great position because you just got your center for now and the future. Plus, if you do the Jaylen Brown deal and stuff like that, you got Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown, Miles Turner, Seth Curry, TJ Warren. You got enough talent around them to be competitive. You're not a contender, but you're probably not a play-in team either. You're probably one of the better teams in the bottom half of that conference. I mean, after like the top 5 or 6 teams, it really takes a drastic drop. And so you don't have to be that great to just get into the playoffs in the East. And so I think that team would be good enough to do that. Lakers get their guy and Kyrie. The Pacers get, the salary relief, and they get 2 first-round picks for the Lakers, which makes more sense for them because they're in a position to rebuild. They're in a position to where they don't know where they're going to be, 5 years from now, because they're going to be trying to do a rebuild. And where the Nets, they're not able to do a rebuild. They're in a very unique and different situation. So it's a win-win for all sides there. You get a player that helps you now and is young enough for your future. That's perfect. You also get something for Kyrie rather than him just walking and getting nothing. I just think that that's the best way to go. And we're hearing the reports, again, they're conflicting. 1 hour, it's, the Lakers are willing to give up both first-round picks. And then, the next hour, it's like, the Nets aren't interested in the 2 first-round picks anymore. And it's like, then the next hour, it's like, oh, the Nets are now interested in the picks. And it just, nobody knows what is going on in the situation. Nobody. And the problem is, we're not going to know until it happens one way or another. I just don't see the point in the Brooklyn Nets going into training camp with these 2 guys. They might not even show up to training camp. And I know people think like Kyrie, he needs to come out, he needs the ball because he's trying to get a max contract and he's got to show that he can be a guy that can come in and this, that, and the other. He's probably not getting a max contract either way. You think he doesn't know that? He could probably have the best season of his career next year and he still probably wouldn't get a max because of his history. He's had quite a sample size throughout the years of just dysfunction and unreliability. And many teams are worried about that. And many teams are going to look at that and go, we don't want to risk, 4 years on a max. And then, a year in, he buys in and it's like, okay, cool, great. And then the next year he wants out or something crazy. Like the only team that would be willing to do that is the Lakers because they have LeBron James. And the thought process is, okay, LeBron is here, especially now that he signed the extension. So you have him locked in for, at least the next 2, likely 3 years. You get Kyrie. Worst case scenario, Kyrie, by the time LeBron leaves, Kyrie's an expiring contract that you might be able to move, or you ride it out with him for a year and you let him go. If it works out great and he's still, bought in and him and Anthony Davis are working as a duo, then you keep him, you extend him, and then you try to go get another guy to add to Kyrie and Anthony Davis. There's always ways, there's always possibilities. I just think at this point, Brooklyn needs to get it done. We just keep hearing these conflicting reports. Brooklyn's trying to play hardball, but all it's done is just continue to blow up in their face. If they had all the leverage, all of the everything this time, 2 months ago, and Joe Tsai said everything that he said, and this, that, and the other, and we have watched the last 2 months. The Brooklyn Nets just look sillier and sillier and goofier and lose more and more and more and more leverage. What's going to happen another month from now when training camp starts? You really going to continue that? At some point, Joe Tsai has to step in and say, okay, enough is enough. We're done. Trade him. Well, we don't have any. I don't care. Sean, trade him. Trade him. Whatever it is. What is the best deal on the table? Okay, go trade him for that. At some point, Joe Tsai's got to step in and just say, I'm done with the circus. Enough is enough. This guy's a billionaire businessman. At some point, you got to do what you got to do. And it sucks, but you got to cut your losses sometimes. And Kevin Durant is a loss. And we don't know what he's going to continue to do and trying to force his way out. Does Kevin Durant eventually just get sick of trying to force his way out and just says, okay, fine, whatever, you win? Possibly, but he hasn't done it yet. And he's just continued to ask for crazier and crazier stuff to force your hand. And so it's just, when does Joe Tsai just say, I'm done? I'm done. Trade Kyrie. Kyrie's leaving next year anyway. He's gone, so might as well get something for him. So trade Kyrie and then work out a deal for Kevin Durant. Whatever the best deal is, that's the deal we take. And let's just move on. Let's get some players that actually want to be here, that actually want to play, that actually want to show up, that actually want to, try to work for the goal, the culture, everything like that. And why would Joe Tsai want to do that to Sean Marks and Steve Nash? Why would you want to bring in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving when your coach and your GM both know these two guys want us fired? These two guys want us gone. Why would you do that? It just makes no sense to me. But those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think of this mess? Do you agree with me that nobody knows what's going on? And Woj, even himself, has been so inconsistent throughout this entire thing. I just wanted to make this video because saw the comments yesterday of Woj said this. And it's like, Woj has been wrong every step of this way. Everyone has, not just him, but everybody has every step of this way because nobody knows what is going on. Woj 1 hour reports that, deal is, being worked out and, it could be done within the next week. And then, the next day he's like, the deal is off and it's never happening again. And Kyrie Irving says he loves the Nets and, him and the Nets had a picnic and he's a Net for life. And then the next day it's like Woj is like, oh no, Kyrie Irving wants out. He doesn't know what is going on. Nobody knows what is going on. But, however you feel about it, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot, lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.